Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from fresh perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 296, Your Authentic Spiritual Journey. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host. I'm here today in Anderson Studios. I decided to give my home studio a name since I'm recording here so often. So Anderson Studios is a division of the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, which is all a part of the Soul Works Group, Inc., my charitable corporation. So friends, welcome along the journey today. It is a beautiful day to be alive. It is Monday, February 19th. And the show today, The Authentic Spiritual Journey, is show 296. It's a great day. It's a happy Monday. And the title of today's show is going to sound very familiar because it's basically the title of the show. The title of today's show, number 296, is Your Authentic Spiritual Journey. Your Authentic Spiritual Journey. And it's interesting, friends, as I even say the title, I kind of tear up a little bit. I'll just be as authentic as possible. You know, what I know about our listeners, so I'm really totally speaking directly to you, friends, that you all really inspire me with the way you listen and the way you seek to live a spiritual life. That said, it's so tempting in today's culture of, social media comparisons and what I like to call the age of put downs. It's so easy to compare yourself to others, and I have a lot of energy around this because I feel like in our general culture that when that happens, it's very, very hurtful. It's even hurtful to the person who's doing the put down. They don't even know it, but karmically, psychologically, whatever you focus on, you bring more of to yourself. And it's just not an activity as spiritual students that we want to be a part of. So I wanted to relate our kind of what's happening in our culture back to how do we walk through our spiritual journey? How do we stay in integrity with ourselves, which I talked about in a recent show? How do we show up for our own process? That was in another show, Integrity with Your Process, and I feel like we need lots of reminders because so much of what we see, even in the news now, which of course isn't news, is edutainment, I think it's usually called. And, even in the news, as I said, that is not news, there's a lot of that. There's put downs, there's comparisons. So why am I saying all this? What's my point? The point is, those behaviors are anything but spiritual. And how we want to stay focused on our own journey is to always be asking ourselves the question, how does what's happening apply to me in my journey? The reason I want us to be asking ourselves the question, how does this apply to me in my journey, is that I don't want our attention going outward. When it goes outward in a way, it's usually, if not always, dysfunctional. It's often what we call psychologically projection. It doesn't mean we don't know what's going on in the world around us. It means that we don't have what's happening in the world decide where we are on our journey, and that we don't let what's happening in the world diminish the spiritual walk and the emotional work that we may be about at this time. I hope you're with me on this, friends. As I'm walking through this, I feel a little like I'm trudging through this topic, and I'm not sure why, because I love the topic. If we were in person, I'd say, give me some feedback. So you can text me or email me later feedback about this one. But I simply want you to be able to know that you are being guided, that you are being supported, that God loves you, that you're not alone in this, and that your journey is yours and it's not going to look like anybody else's. Your journey is yours and it's not going to look like anybody else's. That said, the reason I do these shows is there are certain archetypal patterns that we can look at, that we can connect with, that we can, all see that are similar. For instance, as we start to awaken or as we start to grow, like I often say, this channel is about helping you grow, prosper, and evolve, right? Well, the way you grow, prosper, and evolve, and what that means to you is probably going to be a little bit different than the way I grow, prosper, and evolve, because you have different life experience, you have different, maybe a different income level, maybe you're from a different culture, maybe you came out of a different spiritual background. So see, all these things are impacting your journey, and I don't want you to look at mine and say, well, mine does not look exactly like hers, therefore I'm doing it wrong. So this is what I meant earlier when I was saying that I don't want you to compare yourself to others. And I was about to go down a social media track that I don't want to get onto. I love the power of social media. I don't like all the comparisons and all the put downs. I feel really sad about our youngsters getting caught up in that. So it's like, as adults on the spiritual journey, a lot of times this is how we connect, through social media, through you listening to, the show on your device, right? So I want this to be supportive. I want it to be empowering, that you and your journey is exactly that. It's yours, and it's not going to look like anybody else's. Okay? So just hang in there with me on that. It's like, the question though is, and I'm going to repeat it, I asked it earlier, how does this, whatever this might be happening, how does this apply to me and my journey? Often as a speaker and as an educator, I receive feedback. And I recently was putting out 5 different designs on a journal that is going to be sold on Amazon, probably by the time this airs. The Intentions Journal will be on Amazon. It's a daily practice. There's things for you to fill in every day and all that. And it was wonderful receiving feedback from hundreds of people. And what I first did was I sent the journal to just people in my, direct contact list that I'm fairly close to, and there was about, 75 or 80 people that I sent it to, first of all, on my own, just through text messaging. And it was really interesting to see the feedback and how the feedback was really impacted by their life's journey. For instance, there were 5 different designs, and I noticed, like, say, design number 3, men over 60 loved number 3. It was interesting because only like 2 women, say, out of 75, like number 3. And why am I saying all this? Well, it was wonderful to see the pattern and to see how their life experience, their age, their approach to their spiritual journey was impacting their choice. Professional people who have worked in the corporate world liked number 5, men or women, of a certain age. And then by and large, most people liked the second one. Anyway, I'm saying all this to describe how our journey impacts how we see the world, how we walk through the world, and the choices we make. So even though I can see certain patterns, each of us have our very own authentic spiritual journey. So I want to encourage you. I want to lift you up and even, for lack of a better word, empower you to own your journey, maybe in a new way. That your journey doesn't look like anybody else's, that's good. Your spiritual practice every morning may be different than everybody else's, that's fine. What's important is my journey helping me grow, prosper, and evolve, right? Is my journey helping me grow, prosper, and evolve? If not, well, then that's when we get support, right? But if it's working, you're moving forward, you're evolving, then awesome. That's you owning, leading, managing, maintaining your own spiritual journey. Beautiful. That would be a great question to ask yourself, too. Is my journey helping me to grow, prosper, and evolve? Just to ask yourself that question. How does this apply to me in my journey we talked about? And is this helping me grow, prosper, and evolve? Yeah. Give this some thought as you're going throughout your day. You know, I had a dear friend not too long ago say, I'm not sure if I'm on a journey at all. I said, well, you are. I think what you're learning is, what is your direction on your journey? I said, a lot of times we can go into automatic and be unconscious. I've certainly been there. And that's a part of my journey, right? It's not good or bad. It's just simply up and down. I don't know if you can't constantly grow every second of the day, right? You grow, you create these new spiritual practices, you go deep within your own self, your connection to God. Well, pretty soon you get used to that, and then it's time for another growth forward, and you say, oh, you know what? I realize I may have plateaued or gone a little unconscious, so then we do some more work, maybe seek out some coaching or a different class or a new practice, and then we wake up again to, oh, you know, I'm the one guiding my journey. Now, as I keep saying, your authentic spiritual journey, as I use the word I am guiding my journey, my journey. This is not to be in any way misperceived as egoic or negative in some way. It's simply to be empowering, knowing that everybody wants to tell us what to do these days, I've noticed. Fashion, television, news, social media, friends, everybody has an opinion now. And so when I say mine or my or I, it's not a negative egoic attachment. It's simply empowered and owning, like there's a strong humility to the spiritual journey, a very strong humility to it. There's humility that makes you shrink in a corner. Well, that's more than humility. That's like shame. So we don't want that kind of humility on the journey. We want to be humble, but to be strong, to be powerful, to be bold. We can be all those things, right? We can be all those things. And by saying that, it doesn't leave out God. It doesn't leave out the divine in any way. Because, see, I believe, and I know from reading our scriptures, that God is everywhere. If God is everywhere, God is present in me. The presence of the Christ is here now. So there is no separation between me and the divine. So as we own this power, as we own this energy, it's like really believing in your divine self. It's like believing in your divine self. So when I say I or my or, my journey, what I'm saying is the divine is included in that. It's not an either or. It's not I'm leaving God out. I had a comment one time on the show on YouTube, I think it was. Somebody made a comment like, the universe supports me, Yahweh supports me. And I sent a message back. Yes, Yahweh supports you. Friends, we get so caught up in the name of God sometimes. We're ready to demonize somebody for using the word universe or Christ instead of, or whatever, some other name for God. You could call God light or love. That you can't possibly diminish God by what you call God. God is way too powerful for that. So on this show, we don't get hung up on what is the name of God. God is. God is in you. God is enfolding you. God is around you. God is surrounding you. God is literally in every cell, every breath, every aspect of your body, mind, and soul, and just awaiting your noticing. So part of what the journey is waking up to the divine in us and living boldly from that divine self. By bold, I don't mean we're bold and we put anybody else down. I mean, we are absolutely in our power in our own spiritual journey. Yes, I think you're feeling this with me now. I'm finally feeling this. So you might want to think about, and I'm always thinking about this, are there ways in which I'm not owning my spiritual journey? Are there ways in which I'm not owning my journey? Yeah, do I care what other people think? Are there ways I'm not owning my journey? I'm just jotting that down for myself to come back to. Are there ways I'm not owning my journey? I do think about this all the time, but somehow the way I worded that seems a little different, and I'm going to really consider that for myself. Are there ways? You know, people often think because I'm the host that I've got this down, and friends, I'm on the journey just like you are. Some days are really, really strong. Other days I have struggles. So, you know, are there ways I'm not owning my journey? Like with family members or, yeah, just thinking about it. Are there ways that I'm not dedicating myself to the growth aspect? Are there ways I'm not owning my journey? Another question, am I comparing myself to others instead of asking myself the question, how does this apply to me and my journey? How does this apply to me and my journey? Remember, we said that earlier today. This keeps the focus coming back without going outward. Because what I've really learned, I said earlier that it can be judgmental, it can be projection, it's often negative. What's interesting, though, once we understand when our attention goes outwards, once we understand what projection is, we can take what those judgments are and try to bring them back into ourselves and say, am I seeing outside of me a part that needs healing in me? Right? Am I seeing something in someone else, in other words? That really, what I'm really doing is projecting it onto them because I'm not wanting to look at it in myself. So this is one way the soul knows its wholeness. That's why the other question is, how does this apply to me and my journey, right? That's why that's the question. How does this apply to me and my journey? Because if I see somebody's doing this or that, I want to look at it and say, well, where is that in me? Where is that in me? It's amazing how complex the universe and the soul can be, and yet how simple. If we can learn every time we're looking outside of ourselves to know that what we're actually doing is seeing something that's internal for us, we will most definitely grow, prosper, and evolve. Most definitely, we will grow, prosper, and evolve. The other piece I want to mention that I have not spoken about today, just to have us all be thinking about is, are you a part of a community of people that supports your authentic spiritual journey? Are you a part of a spiritual community that supports your authentic spiritual journey? This is an important thing to be aware of, because if you're having to do this all on your own, it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to lose sight of, direction. And it also will help keep you honest and integrous with your process as you seek to move forward and heal. Because listen, friends, if we're in community and there's people there, guess what? That's going to mean an opportunity to grow. That's going to mean an opportunity to grow if there's other folks there. There's no perfect way to do the journey, but what I know is anytime we're in relationship, whether it's friendship in our spiritual community, whether it's romantic, whether it's parent to child, all relationships bring growth. And if you're just sitting at home and meditating and you're not in some kind of community, chances are there are some big gaps in your learning. Being with people, working your process, reflecting on your process is one of the ways you own your authentic spiritual journey. It's one of the ways you grow, prosper, and evolve. The last piece I want to mention, I want to focus the rest of the time on this, is really about, taking next steps on the journey. I see a lot of people getting real comfortable with their journey, and as good as that is, what we always want to be doing is growing. And as I said earlier, you can't grow every second of the day, but if you haven't tried a new practice for a while, if you haven't done forgiveness work for a while, that's going to be needed to move forward and grow. If you start to, hold on to negative thoughts, beliefs, ideas, this is going to hold you back from next steps. When you can begin to do this with yourself, it's almost like having a little committee meeting with your own self, right? It's like I've been a part of a team. The team that works with me is so amazing, and we have really built a culture and an environment of growth and healing among the team. And all of us are able to give feedback. We're able to receive feedback and not take it personally. And by not take it personally, I mean not go into reaction mode. We do take it personally, meaning seriously, and we seek to see, what am I missing on this? Or help me understand your perspective. And so it's causing us all to grow. It's causing us all to make next steps in our spiritual growth. And frankly, it is bringing prosperity and healing. We've all learned that none of us can do this walk that we're doing alone. Each person on the team is needed, very needed. And the person giving the content is no more important than the person doing social media, no important than the person doing the graphics and website and all the design and all those things. All those pieces are very, very important. So simply creating a culture and environment of growth and healing is causing growth in all of us. Again, it's helping us because we've all learned through life's lessons not to take feedback so personally, but to listen with an open heart. And then we can grow into the next step, into our next phase of growth and healing, which of course is a part of our prosperity. What I've learned is that as we are all listening, supporting, we move forward, we take next steps, we grow. As all this is happening, we are able to then release attachment, and that's also bringing prosperity on every level. Prosperity in relationships, prosperity in the form of finances, prosperity in the form of learning new parts about ourselves, prosperity of learning new gifts of the people around us. If I were judging all the people around me and on my team, we would not have a culture of growth and healing. We would not. I am consistently asking, how does this apply to me and my journey? So today we've talked about a lot of things. We talked about early on in the show that your authentic spiritual journey is just that. It's yours. Our hope for you and our goal for you is that you not compare yourself in your journey to others. And with all the judging going on out there, it's going to take a great discipline in you probably to do that. But I know it's possible. And I know if we make mistakes, we simply try again, right? And so we're asking ourselves several questions. One is, is my journey helping me grow, prosper, and evolve? If not, maybe I need help. Maybe I need a class. Maybe I need to go in a mastermind or join a spiritual community. We said that as we own our spiritual journey, what we're really trying to do, or what we're seeking to do, is own our divine aspect as a soul, that it's not I and mine from this ego place, but in fact, it is owning in a bold way our spiritual power, our spiritual essence, which in turn will diminish the ego need and aspects, right? And so then the thoughtful questions as we go today were a little bit deeper. Like, are there ways I'm not owning my journey? Is there a place that I'm giving up power? Is there a place that I'm not bold with my faith? Is there a way that I'm not speaking up when it's mine to speak up? Are there practices I need to be doing that I'm really not doing? So these are some really, really great questions to ask. And then I keep coming back to this one in my heart of mind, and I learned this from my spiritual teacher, I don't know, over 30 years ago, to ask myself, how does this apply to me in my journey? And if I'm projecting outward, if I'm looking at others and saying this, and this is wrong with them, then what I seek to do is, rather than stay in that judgmental projection, is I want to take that back in and say to myself, how am I needed to heal that in myself? Like, where is that in me? Right? And then finally we said, if you don't have support of a community, you may want to get one, even if it's an online community. I think it's really, really important to get support for your spiritual journey and make sure that that community you're a part of is not forcing you to work your journey in a certain way, but is encouraging, it is supporting, but it is honoring you as the fabulous soul that you are, the divine soul that you are, to know what are your next steps, what is yours to do. And this is our goal. This is what I mean by owning your authentic spiritual journey. Finally, we said, next steps. Next steps will be easier if in your life you're creating an environment of growth and healing by receiving feedback well, by taking those ideas in and thinking it over, taking it into prayer, meditating on it, journaling about it, being thoughtful about, okay, is there something here for me? If not, I release it. And if so, what is mine to do? And friends, this is the authentic spiritual journey. This is working your authentic spiritual journey. Simply being conscious. Am I owning my journey? How does this apply to me? Am I helping my journey? Is there a way I'm out of alignment with my journey? All of these things we talked about. But most of all, I want to make sure you're getting support for your amazing soul, that you're getting support, that as you're guided to move forward in a certain way, that you have the support, yes, of God, of universe, of Yahweh, whatever name you call it. The very universe itself seeks to support you and bless you. As you remember this, as you know this, life will get better. Life will flow. Life will be on purpose, dear friend. And this is our prayer. This is our goal for you. So I thank you so much for listening today, dear friend. I bless you. I know all around the world you're listening. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And blessings on the journey, dear friend.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2024, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.